are live. This is Nancy Marmolejo. I am the author of Heard, Transforming Leadership Through the Power of Listening. And this is Heard Conversations about Listening, where I sit down with some very interesting people and talk about listening. What does it look like to listen as a leader? What are your strengths? What are some areas of interest you're developing? What are some trends that you're seeing around listening? And so today I have invited somebody who I just find to be delightful, smart, innovative, and very inspiring. Her name is Damiana Pierce. And I will give you my personal how I know Damiana, because if I start naming like this is her role and this is her title, I'll tell you she works at LinkedIn. I know that for a fact. But I'm going to let her give you the little pathway, the pebbles that lead to where she is now. But a couple of years ago, I was participating in an event at LinkedIn, and Damiana was pivotal in helping make that event happen. She's very active with the Latinx ERG group there, and has been just, I think, a natural leader throughout. But Damiana, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the Listening Essentials quiz that you took. We're going to talk about how listening shows up for you as a leader. And I am curious about this little line in the LinkedIn bio that says AI enthusiast. So we're going to unpack that a little bit. But Damiana, introduce yourself to our wonderful audience.
Thank you, Nancy. That was an amazing intro. I feel like you're just like such a natural at just pumping people up, and I love it. I'm here for it. Thank you for having me. So I'm Damiana Pierce, and I have been in, I guess, the tech industry for 17 years, which is really crazy. I had to go back to my own bio and be like, wait, how long have I been doing this for? And I started off really humbly as like a receptionist, and I call it a professional notepad and pen pusher. I literally had a cart, and I would be restocking all of the conference rooms. So my start was really within facilities, and I was also bartending and going to school. So I think I've always kind of had this like hustler kind of mentality. And I found comms as actually like a really true passion. It was I was going to go into journalism, but decided that comms was calling to me. Also was like a full-time worker in journalism at the time. You had to like have rich parents or not have it, or, not work. So, I found my way, and I really started to advocate for myself and the skills that I had at work. And I think I kind of took people back, that they were like, oh, and I was like, this is what I do. This is what I'm good at. Use me or lose me. And so I ended up building the program that is at LinkedIn. It's now called Business Solutions. At the time it was engagement, but it's all around connecting the dots for global security and safety and our employees, and how those resources impact them and can support them. And it's just I guess it's kind of like my passion project, but also my career now. So I'm very happy and lucky to be where I am.
I learned something new about you right now in your little description. I didn't know you'd worked as a bartender.
Yeah, I actually was a bartender at TGI Fridays, and I had to wear had to wear that. I also got a nice cocktail job after that at a fancier bar. So I got to learn some different skills. But I am one of those people, if you're like, I used to do this, I was like, I had that job. So woman of many trades.
I was in the food services industry for a good long time, and I got myself through college cocktailing and waiting tables, and it had to wear everything from a poodle skirt in a 1950s bowling shirt to an off-the-shoulder, sexy señorita cocktail thingamajig.
I hope there are pictures.
Oh my God. I am the origin of the Me Too movement. Let me just say, I will tell you that.
Oh
so, Damiana, hold on one second. In my enthusiasm listening, I printed out notes because I didn't want to be zigzagging my eyes everywhere, but I always want to make sure that there's some specific questions I want to ask you. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about your listening essentials score. So you took the listening essentials quiz, and I looked at your scores and I'm like, whoa. So first of all, if you want to take the listening essentials quiz, it's at heardbook.com/quiz. So that's pretty easy. I tend to, I should, I think if you can see in my heardbook.com/quiz, I'll put it in the chat. And takes no time at all. I mean, it's less than 5 minutes, but it's some basic questions around listening. And it's really just a self-assessment. Nobody's going to give you a gold star if you scored well. And if you lie, that's okay. That's whatever. But I mean, it's really just a nice reflection. So Damiana got an 87%. So if we were in school, that would be like, I don't know, we'd be like A- B+. That's very good. That's very good. I want to break down the scores because it scores you in 3 different areas. That's the fun thing about taking it. And then you need to check your email, Damiana, because it's going to email you like a little PDF with action steps and little tips. And here's some things you can do. So, but there's very little to improve for Damiana. I'm just going to spoil it right there with an 87% score. That's actually really good. Damiana, do you want me to start with your lowest score or your highest score or your middle score?
Let's do the lowest.
This is interesting. Your lowest score is presence. I found that very interesting.
Yes, but this is like, if you had asked me, if I had taken this quiz prior to having children, I probably would have scored higher. Presence is so difficult as a working mother, as a mother, I think, just in itself, and it's nuts. And there is always something going on, whether you're at work away from it or you're working from home, wherever you are either thinking 1,000,010 things are going on. So presence is really something that I am aware of, that I know I need, okay, focus in, Dami, like, let's, pay attention. And I have to be very intentional about it.
It's not a bad score. It's just lower than your other scores because your other scores were so high. So it's like, it's the bell curve. You did really well, but your one of your other scores kind of threw over the top. So the next one was phrasing, and phrasing, you got an 89%, which is actually really, really high. Phrasing is about the language that you use in response to people. So it's having the understanding to check the need. Like if somebody comes to you with a problem, do they want a solution or do they just want to talk it out? Or, there's people who, you say like, hey, I'm having a problem. It's like, what do you mean you're having a problem? Like, oh, that's not the answer I wanted, But you scored really high on that. So what's some of your, well, I mean, I'm being a bartender. Bartenders are some of the best listeners on the planet and the best people. So tell me a little bit more about your gift.
I think it's like something that I picked up from my mom. Growing up, she would always, like, she was the person that people would run to for advice. And I think that I became that person as I was, had girlfriends and just like people around me that, like I genuinely love and you care about and you want to like solve all their problems. And then as you start to grow up, you're like, I can't solve all of these problems. And so it's a little bit of that, of like me being aware of that and needing to kind of check in with them. And most days I'm good at that. Like, do you want me to give you advice or do you want me to just listen? And that also goes for like at work too. You'll have, I have a team that, sometimes it's just voicing what is going on. That is the solution, that all they need to do is just talk and genuinely be heard. Or it's that they want me, to also find a solution too as their manager. So I'm trying to do that. I think if there are moments though, and it comes to that like tuning in and paying attention, that kind of read the room kind of moment of like, this isn't my place to do this. And I might get a few sentences in and then be like, oop, let me take that back and let me check in with you. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially, sometimes we sit back and somebody's, struggling with something, and like I'll reverse engineer it for folks and say, okay, well, what would the ideal outcome be? And they're like, well, and they'll describe it. It's like, great. Okay, well, working backwards, what do you think our first step should be? And suddenly, and that's after finding out, if do you want help with this? If you're trying to open a jar and you can't, you're like, oh, I'm so, it's like, we're not going to talk about your feelings, how you feel when you can't open a jar. We're going to get the jar and we're going to open it. But finding out, what do you need? What do you need? Now, I think that your score in patience directly impacts the patients that you have in that phrasing department, because I'm just going to tell the world right now, Damiana's patience score is one of the highest I've seen, like ridiculously high. Patience is my lowest. I'm skimming the bottom on patience. 93%.
That almost is like a problem. Sometimes having too much patience can be a problem. Leave the situation. It's time. Like I think it's not perfect. Like if patience with a 3-year-old, 2 3-year-olds that I have at home, yeah, we're learning. Patience at work is different. It's different avenues, right? I think that sometimes it's a gift and sometimes you're like, it's not a gift. I need to listen. It means sometimes I'm not listening to myself. Also, a little telling on myself.
You kind of there's something that seems to happen, because we all have an exception for the people who live under the same roof as us. Like, I'm a 93 on patience with the people at work that I manage. We come home, everyone's living a double life. And I always say, eventually it's going to trickle down. My daughter's in her 20s and I'm noticing I'm more patient and a better listener now. And I keep thinking, wow, what if I was like this when she was 3? What if I, but we're so, there's so many things competing for our attention. That's the presence part. It's hard to focus. And the patience, like we're pressed for time. Rush, rush, rush. I got another meeting right after this one. Can you just like hurry up, get to the point? Yeah, 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 yeah. And then phrasing, we might just say like, okay, put a pin in it. And that's just like, squashing everything and running off. It's like, this is why people aren't feeling heard. And we have so much data that supports this around just, that listening, that feeling like you value, feeling you matter, feeling heard does so much for a person's feeling of belonging, number one. But number two, how much do I want to contribute? Do I want to share this idea with you, or are you just going to blow me off like you always do? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm writing this book, is I want to put that conversation out and just talk about it and have people just like, look, we can improve this one area. If we can improve this one area, it can improve these 10 areas. So why not be efficient? You and I are moms. It's like, what is the quickest, fastest, most efficient way to get this thing done? You figure it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're so spot on, because it trickles into all the areas of your life, being present and really truly listening and validating people. It's like where you're gonna have the best relationships that are really, really like sincere and meaningful.
So I want to ask you something specifically about your growth as a listener, because we're all growing. We're always growing. It's not like I did sit-ups yesterday. I never have to do them for the rest of my life. It's like, this is a maintenance practice. I know. Snap, right? I want you to think about some kind of a defining experience that really taught you a lesson about listening, whether it was your own or someone else's, whether it was like, ooh, got to do this better, or wow, that was so good, I want to aspire to that. So just some kind of a life-changing moment that you noticed that listening was key to.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I really found my passion in comms, and that was really around the tenets of active listening and being present. That spoke to me. And when I became a people manager, I wanted to make it a point that like this is a place where not only am I going to listen to you, but like I am encouraging you to come to the table with your ideas. That is like what makes our team so unique and special and successful. Um, and I've always been kind of setting the stage for this is that I've always been a little bit of an extrovert. I think that might just be the Sagittarius in me. I like making friends. I've also did theater. Like I was very front and center and okay with it. I would do speeches at school and, would no sweat. But I think maybe somewhere along the way as you're going throughout your career, you come across a lot of like people above you, leadership, and it started to kind of scare me. And at first I wasn't afraid of. I would go up to the CEO. I knew the CEO at Yahoo, and like would like support VPs, and I wasn't afraid of that kind of leadership. But for some reason, I think maybe it just kind of got to me, and so speaking publicly was scary for me for this moment in time. It was like maybe like a good year or two where someone would call on me and I would just freeze, absolutely just freeze. And we had a coach come in for the whole team, but she was talking about public speaking, and she did this really great analogy about the spotlight. You might have heard of this, but like it's basically around like if you are having this fear of public speaking, it's because you are not listening anymore. You are making it about you. The spotlight is about you and everything that's going on in your brain. You are not paying attention and thinking about what is the information that I have that is super valuable that I need to share with this group to get us like to succeed. And that clicked for me. It was like, it is not about me. It is about this project, this team, whatever it is. It's so you turn the spotlight outwards. And that really changed that kind of mentality for me.
I love that advice.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. And you know what it does? It takes you out of your head. It reduces your self-consciousness, and it reminds you why we're here. It's not the Damiana show as much as we would love it to be. I think that's such a great pivot, because then all of a sudden what you're doing, and this is a form of listening, and some of it can be nonverbal, is you're paying attention to the room. That's presence. See, your score just went up on presence. You reading the room
Yes.
is key to everything. What is the vibe? What is it that people are seeing? What's the look on their faces? What's going on? Which, by the way, segues us into the topic du jour. And it is this whole this AI thing I keep hearing about. You have called yourself an AI enthusiast, and I was joking with you before we got on this call, and I said, in like the last, I don't know, 5 months, the letters AI have snuck into everyone's job description, role, LinkedIn title. Yours isn't on your title. Yours is in your little about section, I think. But I am curious what that means to you, because one of the things, the reason why I'm connecting it to that story you just told about speaking, is because I don't see how AI can read the room. It's not going to see the beads of perspiration on someone. It's not going to notice the animosity between two people and the daggers they're throwing at each other with their eyes. So that's my personal opinion. I'm not against it. I'm just saying I think it has its limitations. What are some of the things that you are enthusiastic about with AI, and what are some of the things maybe you're not?
Yeah, we were chatting, and I was saying, I think when we started like this the world, the AI journey together. I was a little like, oh, exciting. And now I would say I'm like cautiously enthusiastic. And it basically, like, what it does for me and what I like about it is how I can field different ideas. That's like, that really to me is like, instead of like, spending a couple hours like fielding these different ideas and researching, it just kind of pulls it together. And that might not all be the ideas, but I was talking about this with a friend recently, and talking about, I coined it like an AI sandwich, which would be like, you start with your ideas as the bread. It kind of pulls some other information, and this could be on writing too, or utilizing like its documentation or design features. And then you have to go back and edit it and make sure that it also feels like you were saying earlier, like it's that human quality, that like it's not reading, it doesn't know about that information that Jessica in accounting, is on your back about X, Y, and Z. Like, you have to like make it you. You can't just, okay, we're done.
Right. And that's particularly around some of the generative stuff around, if it's used in writing or, design, whatnot. I agree with you. I think that the sandwich part is important. I think if I see one more AI flyer that has 80,000 elements on it, I'm like, oh, no. Or I can tell when I was noticing a similar words kept coming up when people were submitting proposals to me for speaking. And I was like, every one of you has this same word combination. And it was really like, then there was the little emojis tossed into the text, and I'm like, delete the emojis. That's such a tell. So that part, but I am very excited about some of the things that happen, for example, in medicine, getting all of this data around cancer or all these different things that are creating greater advances, more accuracy. I went to the doctor and they were using an AI note taker. And I said, are you going to still pay attention to me? Or are you going to space out and say the note taker's taken? I'm busting them right there in the moment. They're like, oh no, I'm listening to you. I said, you better be, I'm watching you. So that was an interesting thing, now knowing that everything I said in that conversation, whether the doctor remembered it or not, is going to be recorded. So those types of things, like, yeah, great. But again, there's this component where if it gets relied on for the wrong things, then it's just sort of lazy. If it's, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this or not, but I went, there's like a meeting that I went to, and it was like hundreds of people were on this meeting. And I would say like 3/4 of them were AI note takers. So people aren't just even going to the meeting, they're just sending their note taker. What are they missing from that? So I don't know. Does that happen in your world where it's like all the note takers are there and only like 1 or 2 humans?
I haven't seen that. I'm actually surprised to hear that. I also feel like people, because AI has made things so easy, we are getting a little lazier on like following through with certain things. I don't know. People would barely read their emails prior to AI. So are they really going back and reading their notes?
Yeah. Well, the notes are like, here we talked for an hour, and then there's 5 bullet points.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't capture everything. You still, it's nice. I kind of, the reverse is happening where I'm at is we're utilizing it to like send the summary, task people with, those what it took, but you still have to, like what we're saying, validate it, and you have to pay attention, because you're absolutely gonna miss something if you're relying solely on AI.
Yeah, I do like the summaries in an extent where, it will have the action items. Let's say we're on Zoom and it sends an action item list afterwards. I can send that to people, especially if I'm having a meeting with a collaborator. It's like, no, you said you were going to do that part, that kind of a thing. I think that's really important. And then recently, one of my clients finished up a relatively long coaching engagement with me, almost a year of executive coaching. And so I went through all of the notes. I handwrite notes for everything. I mean, I type them, hand type notes. Plus I have the Zoom summaries. Plus I have all of our action steps and everything that she's done, giant file. And I actually had an AI generated success, like kind of reflection. Here's everything that happened in the last year. And we both looked at it and said, wow, we moved some mountains, like how many of these and how many of that. And we made this big decision. And this is when she started. This was all the turmoil that was going on. Now awards and accolades and clarity and all this stuff. And I'm sure I could have done that by myself. It would have taken me probably an entire day, so I did appreciate that part of it. But what it didn't do is it didn't have the human conversation for us. It just took the human conversations and pulled out some of the themes, the topics, and things like that.
Yeah, you just reminded. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm going to say I'm looking at. We've got a couple of comments that are coming up, and I just want to make sure I let everybody say. Javi is saying hola. So hi, Javi. All right, I'm going to show another one, but what was it that you were just about to share?
Oh, you were just reminding me, like at the end of the year, your what you did, that I have absolutely taken advantage of at work, is like pulling together all of like who I worked with, my partners, the different, milestones that we got. And I was able to put all of that together, but actually have the quality conversation with my manager is like outside of this. It just lines up perfectly to what you were talking about. And like not spending a whole week writing your self reviews and reflections, and actually being able to like, kind of rely a little bit on AI, still going through it and validating, but like, what a win.
It's funny because now every app on the planet is doing a year in review. Spotify, here was the song you listened to. And I got stuck on, I was having like a 90s supermodel throwback, and I was listening to Freedom 90 by George Michael, the one where the video, he's got all the supermodels, Cindy Crawford's in it, Naomi Campbell's in it. It's like, I decided I was going to sing that at karaoke. I don't sing and I never go to karaoke, but I just said, just in case somebody calls me up for karaoke, which I never go to, and I practiced it. And so it came out as my #1 song on Spotify. And then I went to my friend's party, and lo and behold, she had karaoke. And I sang it terribly. I'm going to add that. But those types of, like, what's going to happen now? Is Zoom going to send us a year in review? You got mad at this person 5 times, and this person interrupted you 20 times with some splashy graphics. Who knows? But I mean, what do you see as the next thing that might be happening?
Oh, I feel like it might be in more places, right? Like you're saying, it's going to be, AI is kind of going to be, really in the room, I think, in those meeting rooms at work. That's how I feel like that's where we're going, so that it just captures it all. And like, it's like position does this. This is where I'm like, like cautiously optimistic, because there are still conversations that you want to have with people, just human to human, that make your work kind of like this quality of life, versus like feeling like you always have to be on. That's a lot of work to do.
Right. And that's a lot of water usage and energy to do a thing that you could have done.
Yes.
I saw this clip with Sam Altman of OpenAI saying that he uses ChatGPT to raise his kids. And everybody's like, how about using you to raise your kids? Like, how is ChatGPT going to raise your kids? Like, what do I say with my kid? They want a cookie. What do I do? What do I say? Like, don't abdicate decision-making, intelligent decision-making. I feel like there's a certain flabbiness that's happening with our intellects that
Yeah.
needs to be addressed, because people are getting problems solved for them in a click of a button that they could have found that themselves. And I have a friend whose mother had dementia at the end of her life. And we're all reaching a certain age where we're like, oh, I forgot what I wanted when I walked into the room. Is this the early onset dementia? Like, what's going on? And so we're forcing ourselves to do things without the help of Google. What was the name of that movie that we saw back in 1996? Oh, let me Google it. No, don't Google it. We need to remember it. You know, so utilizing those human skills in a meeting, utilizing those human skills to really pay attention, not space out, because you know that the AI note taker is handling business for you.
Yeah, exactly. It also seems like if you're sourcing out your parenting, I think you're also missing such a big sense of community that you can tap into of other parents or other groups of interest that you're missing out on. I understand, maybe not the cookie, but you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, and sometimes we just need to talk. There actually was someone recently in San Francisco. I'm sure you've seen all the AI billboards that have taken over down the highway. And somebody bought a billboard and posted hey, join my AI, whatever. And, and people joined it. And he was actually responding to all of their questions. And what he found was that a lot of these were questions like, what color should I paint my, living room? And that we're missing the sense of community and maybe back in the 90s, our chat rooms, maybe that's kind of the answer.
Bring back AOL chat rooms.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's sad in a way. It's sad because I wish that person had someone they could ask that question to. And unless that bot can be in the room with them and see how the light changes throughout the day, I'm very blessed to have some friends in my life who have great sense of design or color, and I can say, can you just come here? Where should I put this plant? I can't ask that of a bot. I'd have to photograph my house at different times, a different light, so I think that's a really great example. I am loving the prank billboards that are popping up everywhere. I think somebody even made a bus stop, like the bench at the bus stop. They're putting fake AI companies on there. And it's like this woman made a fake AI company that sells natural deodorant, and it's already ranking. It's like the bots are catching on to it. And when you look it up in AI, it's like her product is coming up. And she's like, I just made this a week ago and it was a joke. So there's a lot of really interesting things happening. I'm just noticing there's actually another comment in here. Rosa left it a few minutes ago. And I don't know if you're still here, Rosa, but I hope you are. This is back when you were talking about being in the room. All right, so this is Rosa Sanchez Yokoyama, and Rosa, part of our Latina Speakers and Coaches group, and she was at the conference at Lean in Latinas as one of our coaches. So she is target audience analysis is what she's speaking about as a speaker. Before she speaks, she asks questions as what's going on with them. Your story is only strong if it resonates with the audience. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that bit of wisdom. Again, how could AI do that for you? Well, maybe what you could do is send out a pre-event questionnaire and get people to answer anonymously, and AI can maybe find some themes, aggregate some of the data. But somebody like Rosa, somebody like you, Damiana, you are eye to eye with people, or just, sensing it. And even if it's not physically present, there's still something different about there's a pause. It's like, hey, things went a little quiet. I'm just checking in. Is everybody good? Like, what's going on here? Are we thinking, or is there something that you need to say that's hard to say? I facilitate meetings like a therapist. So, just everyone's resolving all their issues while we're getting things done. But those types of nuances, I think, are what we're really, really pointing at. And, anything else you want to add around that whole topic of nuances?
Yeah, I am a big who is the audience person. I think that's rule number one, I think, from just my journalism days and comms days, right? It's like, who are we talking to and why? And why is it important to them? I couldn't agree more. And I think what you said, Nancy, is like hit it right on the, nail on the head is like, yes, AI can help you aggregate that information, kind of formulate, like even within like Copilot, who might my partners be, of like pulling that information is great, but you actually reading the room again is going to be key. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's all I'll add to that.
All right, so you have the platform right now. And what I love about you is you're very comfortable with the mic. Damiana also has a podcast. That's a whole other world of hers. Great. I love it. You have the mic and you get a chance, like right now, you're going to speak to leaders. You're in tech, but I think it's industry agnostic. It's like leaders who are managing people, leaders who are leading people, and who care about those people, have a mission, want to do more good than evil. I want to talk to them. What would you want to say to them as far as any advice around listening?
Yeah, I think it is more important than ever to really tune in and listen. I think that it's the connection piece. It's like the AI has made things so easy, and maybe you might send an email and think maybe that could have, come off a different way. Like you don't know how it's going to be read. And I think that there's just that age old kind of saying of like, pick up the phone. And whether it's the phone or text, or like, I think we need to really be intentional about connecting again, especially as managers, but also just as colleagues, friends, sisters, daughters, like whatever, like pick up the phone and really connect with people and being intentional with like your time.
Yeah. I love that. You're a phone person.
Yeah, I am. And FaceTime.
Oh, I love FaceTime. I find myself becoming less of a phone person. It's really interesting that I have a couple of clients and a couple of colleagues and friends that we use the Marco Polo app. Have you ever used that? Like little video messages back and forth. And it's like, we're able to have this asynchronous conversation, respond back to each other. Sometimes they leave me like 30-minute messages, like, okay. But I find it really interesting because on the good side, it lets us communicate whenever we can. But then I also realize it takes out the element of interruption, which a lot of us have to work on. So it's removing us from an area where we need to get better. So pros and cons. Pros and cons. What would you say to? All right, I just kind of framed the last leaders, mission driven, care about their people. What about the ones who aren't quite so care about their people? Maybe a different mindset as leaders. They're not as altruistic. Maybe not coming at it from a humanistic perspective. Is there anything you think you could say that would get them to pause and reflect a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I think at the heart, that's a hard one, because like I am like that. I genuinely care and truly believe that the people on your team, whether they're like, direct reports or just, colleagues connected, I think that they are what is going to make or break your day. Like we spend hours at work, and whether you're in person or virtual, those relationships are so important. And listen, like I get it. Not everyone is like a social butterfly and outspoken, but I think at the least, you have to have, like, to be a really good leader, I think you absolutely have to care at the minimum about the people who you're connected with at work. Just from like a mental health, physical, are you physically safe? Are you mentally safe? Like that those relationships are really truly important. So I would say if you're not, you need to be. You need to listen to Nancy.
You're very compassionate. And
Yeah.
you have 3-year-old twin boys,
Yeah.
which, bless your heart, every single day around the clock. And they're sweet boys. I've actually gotten a chance to meet Damiana's family. These boys are adorable. They're absolutely adorable. And sometimes when I'm with a difficult person and they're putting up a wall and like, I don't need this. This isn't important. This doesn't pertain to me. Let AI do it. I don't need to show up anymore. I just picture them as that 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh, and my heart sometimes starts to ache. It's almost like I'm having like having a psychic reading on them or something. But I can see these are layers and layers and layers of guardedness and denial that are really blocking people. And I don't think that AI is at fault for that, but I know that there are people who are hiding behind it so that they don't have to address some of the pain of human interaction, some of the pain of the creative process. Why struggle writing a paragraph and word choice or trying to create something or design something when this thing could do it in a flash? Well, I missed all the opportunities to solve problems. Maybe the idea from solving the problem would have taken us in a whole different direction that would have surprised everybody, because AI is solamente, I'm going bilingual here, solely reflecting back to us what we've already fed it. So it's just going to keep eating itself and eating itself and eating itself. You're on team human, but you are not against AI. That is my summation of you, Damiana.
Yes. Yeah. I'm on like, make your life easier, but you still have to do the work. It still has to reflect you, who you are as a person. You don't want to I don't want to become, one beige blob of humanity.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain flattening, as far as creative output is concerned. There is, it's a flattening of voice, a flattening of styles. Again, those AI flyers, it's like, why do they always have like gold tones, radiating out of somebody? I mean, it's crazy. But we're going to wrap it up. But what have I not asked you? Because I had a bunch of questions I sent you, and I feel like we've kind of covered them as far as like the positives, the negatives, the cautions, the areas that, regardless of the technology, we still gotta eat our broccoli. We still gotta do the thing. We still gotta, like we talked about. I say this all the time. Like, I can read a book that tells me I need to eat protein and how many proteins I need, how many grams of protein I need for my weight and my age and all of that. Unless I put it on my plate, all right, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So we have to do the thing.
We do. Yeah, we really do. We still have to be, I think it goes back to like this theme of like presence. You still have to be present. And I totally get it. There's times where I have competing priorities and I am in a bind, but like I have to, it's almost, I think for me, like I can care 110% or I can care none. And AI sometimes will like optimize on those moments. And I have to be like, wait a minute, come back. It's like coming back to do your homework. Come back and do your homework, sit down, and you need to like genuinely care about this. Because I think when we're tired and we're burnt out, which I think is like another topic I could probably go off on, is like when you're in those moments, it's so easy to just wipe your hands clean and be done with it. But you have to care because it's part of like a bigger ecosystems, a bigger why of like who you are. And yeah, so that's, I guess, what I would say to that.
That's a quotable right there. I love what you just said. And especially going back to the big why. I mean, if every generation has had some kind of life transforming technology, whether it was the combustible engine or the washing machine or the microwave oven, social media, AI. I mean, we've all had these things and we think, how did I live without it? And the fact of the matter is that we did live without it. We get more done having it with us, but I think there's an important argument around making sure you're not abdicating some of what makes you human for the sake of, now, if I delegate calculations and data analysis, that's great, because that's not my forte. But writing a birthday card, figuring out how I'm going to have a conversation, it's like, these are things that I think we need to do. Me personally, I'm advocating for that.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up?
It was so timely, and this is just kind of a chuckle. One of the questions you had asked me was like something about like what's the AI win that you now realize you can't live without? And I was thinking about it, and I just was like, in this moment where I'm filing for a visa for some work travel, and I am fighting with this like visa application that will not let me submit a photo. And I'm like trying all the different tricks, going through Canva. And then I just kind of, was humbled and was like, okay, I'm going to ask my tech colleague, and I was like, listen, shamelessly, I cannot figure this out. He's like, did you try AI? And I was like, AI did it for me in 30 seconds. I uploaded it and I was like, never again will I ever spend an hour reformatting a photo.
It was your technical assistant. It wasn't making the decision of where you need to apply for a visa and what your motives are and what you're going to, how you're going to do that. But it was like, here's a technical component that needs. Yes. So I'm glad you had that win. I'm looking forward to finding out where these travels are going to take you, because that sounds exciting.
Yes.
Cool. To be continued on that part. Damiana, I'm so happy we got a chance to do this interview today. It really means a lot that you took time out of your busy schedule, but you have infinite patience, so it's all meant to be. Thank you for being the leader that you are, and also modeling for people what balance looks like. I know sometimes I'll say that and you're like, let me tell you 20 things that are out of balance, but for the topic at hand, because I want to keep the expectations, measured. I really see you as having a healthy sense of balance on this. You're utilizing things to speed up tasks, but you're also not abdicating your responsibility to be fully present as a person and to know that there's a human in front of you.
Yep, absolutely. Yay. Thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it having me on. Truly an honor.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody. I've been speaking with Damiana Pierce, who is a cautious AI enthusiast, a leader at LinkedIn, an advocate for all things empowerment, and just a really great person. So thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you on our next Heard Conversations About Listening. I'm going to end this now. And if you want any more information, go to heardleadership.com or heardbook.com and be sure and take the Listening Essentials quiz. All right. Take care, everyone.